Hey, this is Matt Selhorst with Boat Dealer Profits, your host of the Boat Dealer Profits podcast, where we're committed to helping you sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun. I'm really excited about our conversation today. It's something that I think for a lot of folks in the industry, there's huge opportunity to use this tool. And Caroline Mantel is our guest. She's the Director of Business Development at Boat History Report. I'll give you a quick bio. And a Florida native and coastline resident her entire life, even while earning her degree in public relations and marketing from the University of Miami. Boating is a natural love. Caroline agrees that there's no greater feeling than the fresh air, a little salt, and good company. So working for Boat History Report really for her just makes sense. So Caroline, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you joining us.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking today.
Yeah, and I'll just a quick disclaimer. There may be a little construction noise in the background, something that was unavoidable with our scheduling here. But we're going to have a great conversation. Caroline's going to share some really interesting insight with her perspective being in the boating industry and her perspective growing up kind of in that environment down in coastal Florida. So just tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Boat History Report.
Yeah, so I am one of the few born and raised in Florida, very rare down here. But born and raised in Florida, kind of always along, initially the Gulf Coast and now Oceanside, and lived in Miami for about 10 years. And while I was going to school at the University of Miami, I met the founder of the company, Grant Brooks, who at the time was getting his master's in marine affairs and policy, was going through the process of buying a boat and realized there was no way to test the history or the safety or the integrity of the vessel. And that's kind of how Boat History Report started, and Grant and I have always been friends, and so maybe 6 years ago, he asked me to come on board as the Director of Business Development, and here I am. It's been an awesome process of learning even more about this industry, and, there's no better group of people than boaters, so it's really been a good time, and it's been very informative as far as the dangers that can be out there and things you can do to protect yourself, and here we are.
Yeah.
The company started, I think, 13 years ago now. So
is it really that long? That's
yeah.
Incredible. I know I was checking out as I get ready for these podcasts. I do a little social stalking, as I mentioned to you, and I love the post that you guys had on your Facebook, which was just pulling a random Craigslist boat and saying, this boat's for sale. We found 20 boats for sale on Craigslist that were that had issues, that had major issues on their reports.
Yeah, it's really wild. I mean, we have just under 1 million records, negative event records, obviously millions of records, but just under 1 million negative event records in our database, and there's about 9 million actively registered boats, if it's not including, canoes and paddleboards and things like that. So, 1 in 9, 1 in 10 polls a negative event, and on Craigslist it's about 1 in 7. So it's amazing the number of negative events that are out there that people just have no idea about. And, every one of those listings, anytime we do something like that, it's because the listing doesn't disclose it. They try and, pass it off as a great deal and, it's ready to go. And, we can look back and see that, the negative event happened with that person, and here they are selling it as a perfect boat. So.
Yeah, exactly. Just give everybody a little bit of explanation of exactly what you do. I mean, I kind of know what I compare it to, but I'd just like to hear if you explain it. If people are like, man, I haven't heard of this before. Tell me exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to describe it would be similar to like an auto check for boats. So, you go in, you can look at the history of the vessel, you can find out if it's been involved in negative events, kind of what locations it's been in based on resident title data, things like that. So you also verify the information. I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone will come to us and say, no, this boat is 1999, and we can look at it, and we know for a fact that it's a 1995. Based on the whole identification number, there's no question. And so, it's just a secondary tool, I guess, to verify the history and the integrity and things like that.
So I look at the Carfax instantly comes to mind, which I assume, I don't know if you guys used that when you talked about it, but that was the first thing that came to mind, which leads into why I feel this is a marketing conversation. But there's also another side to it, which is reducing the risk on trade-ins and broker boats from the dealer side or the broker side. But there's also a marketing angle too that will help increase margins and turn times. improve turn time. So talk a little bit about how folks have used this in either one of those. You pick the one that you want to start with, but we'll get to both of them.
Yeah, I mean, you really touched the two most important points. The first one I guess we can talk about is on that trade-in side. You've got to protect yourself as a dealer or as a broker, and by not knowing everything you possibly can about boats that you're either taking in or the boats that you're representing, then you're putting yourself liable for, issues later on. So it's just a huge component in the due diligence process, making sure that you're not going to take a trade in, assuming it's a certain value only to find out later that it's significantly reduced because of its history, or that you're not representing yourself and your organization as a broker, trying to show somebody a boat that's not going to be up to their standards and the integrity just isn't there like they expect it to. So
yes, you do your 57-point inspection or whatever it is when you bring a trade on. And maybe you can tell that there's a water line in the bilge, and maybe you can tell it's sunk, but there are going to be some things that you just won't know without that report, and can really reduce your risk.
Yeah, and, any of these organizations, a couple that come to mind that we're heavily involved with are, IYBA, the International Yacht Broker Association, and YBAA, Yacht Broker Association of America. And both of them have, articles in their bylaws that state that, it's duty of the member to protect the public against fraud, misrepresentation, or unethical practices. They should endeavor to eliminate any practices which would be damaging. They need to know the history, even if it's not favorable to the sale of the boat. They need to disclose the history. It's all part of, your bylaws being involved in these organizations. So
yeah, not only that, there's been litigation of, hey, you should have, I don't remember the specific cases, but you should have been aware of this issue, and it's come back on the selling agent that they didn't disclose whether they knew it or not. They should have, is essentially the way I understood the case. You may know more about it.
There are multiple cases. I've stacked of cases, situations like that, where, the dealer or the broker or the seller was found liable for the damage. It was proven that they didn't do their full due diligence. They have a responsibility to do absolutely everything they possibly can to verify the vessel that they're representing. And, even an innocent misrepresentation will be found guilty in most cases.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely critical that they do everything they can to have the most complete and accurate information on the listed vessel.
Now let's get into what I find more interesting. I'm all about reducing risk and doing right by your customer for sure. But let's talk about how dealers and brokers and people selling these pre-owned units, how can they use this to help them sell them faster? And what best practices are you seeing out there in the marketplace that are being used currently?
I think we've kind of just been looking at the podcast. A couple of your guests, Sherry Giovanni and Tim Sanders, both come to mind, when they mentioned that the consumer's really looking to do the research before they go into the location. I think the statistic was 70% of the buyer's research is done online before they even come in. So your goal as a broker or dealer would be to provide them as much possible information before they get, face-to-face, nose-to-nose, and toes-to-toes. So, it's just, it's critical to make sure that you're, as a best practice, putting every piece of information at the fingertips of these consumers before they walk in the door to your location. It's no longer, someone coming in saying, tell me everything about all your boats and help me figure out which one I want. It's them coming in and saying, this is the exact boat that I want. I know you have it. Here's the pin. And so they are coming in much more informed than they used to be, and you want to make sure that you're not being caught off guard, on everything. So whether it's the year, because it was inaccurately listed as a 99 and it's a 95, whether it's the history, whether it's certain components or anything like that, as a dealer and broker, you definitely, as the best practice, want to be the number one expert on that boat.
Yeah, and the one thing I know, especially when you're talking about pre-owned inventory, is one of the biggest issues for making the sale is fear. The consumer, the buyer's fear that they are buying somebody else's issue. They're already scared enough to make a buying decision, but then on a used one, there's the added fear of, am I buying just a boatload of trouble here? Am I buying something that I'm going to have first day out, I'm going to break down? And it's just one more value point that can eliminate that fear. Hey, let me tell you, It's not a perfect boat. There's not warranty, but let me tell you all the things that we've done to make this piece of inventory less likely to have an issue. We've done our inspection. We've got this boat history report, which, oh, by the way, you can see on the line before you ever walk into our dealership. And I assume that you're able to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, first off, I love what you did there. What sort of trouble? Fantastic. That did not go unnoticed. Yeah. But, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, as a consumer, it's a big purchase, and people have their doubts and their fears, and, they're scared, maybe they're inexperienced, they're worried. So this is just one more thing that you're doing to show you've taken every possible step. You can link to it on your listings. Anywhere that you have it listed online, you can link to it. You can take out the unknown. So you're eliminating the unknown, and you're giving them everything that they need to know. So you're helping sell that lifestyle, but you're selling security. You're selling, a boat that lives up to the integrity that it should. You're taking out the unknowing when it comes to buying that used boat.
Yeah, and that alone is going to allow you to, one, get more traffic and interest on the pre-owned inventory that you do have listed, because they're going to say, oh, I can see that this has a clean history. I feel more confident about it, so I'm going to inquire. I'm going to come look at it. But there's also a side benefit I see of it, which is this dealer or this broker is looking out for me. I don't see other people have this, and they seem to be more honest and ethical because they're providing it for free, and they're providing it up front, and they're providing it on their website. I just feel better about them overall, and maybe they buy a different boat from you. Maybe they switch to a new boat if your sales team is trained properly. But it just seems like a no-brainer tool to build that credibility, that trust factor.
Yeah, I think you should come work for us. You should know right on the dot right there. It really is. You're setting yourself apart. It's one thing that you can do that says the report itself can be printed out, it can be linked to, it can be emailed, et cetera. But when you print it out, depending on the level that you sign up for, you actually have the opportunity to put your own branding on the report. So when that customer comes into you, or that customer looks at that boat online and they print out that history report and it's got your information on it, and it includes a blurb that you want to say about your location, it includes your logo, it includes your contact information, and then they go to another dealer, they go to another broker, and that broker's not offering it, and they're making them go buy it. It's a $40 value to the customer. So the customer has to go spend $40 on that report, and they want to know why they have to buy that. Then on the car side, it's being offered on every single boat, and it's being offered, on every single car or vehicle. But on the boat side, you expect me to pay $40, and I'm going to spend $35 or $100,000 or $1 million with you to buy this boat. It doesn't make any sense. And so, they're going to remember that, X, Y, and Z broker or dealer over here actually gave me this report, and they offered to run it on any other boat that I'm interested in, whether it's a boat that's on their lot or not. It's just something that they're offering to, one, build trust, to take away the uncertainty, to, help me feel a little more comfortable with my investment. And, you can't stop with your own pocketbook. You have to assume that everyone has all the money in the world, but at the same time they're coming in, and if they're getting ready to put, $35,000 down on a boat, that might be the end of the world to them. That might be all of their recreational money that they've decided is the best use of it. Or it might be pennies in the bucket. You just don't know. So you want them to feel comfortable with that purchase, and you want them to remember who helps them feel comfortable with that purchase. You build that trust immediately, and, one of the other things it does is it helps you close. So you talk about turnaround time, and, this just helps you close. This is one more tool that you can provide at that purchase point that says, hey, this is a great boat for you, and I'm also showing you why it's a great boat. I've got this third party that's totally unrelated to me. You don't have to trust me as the seller telling you that the history is clean, because we all know, that even though you could ask 100 times, you're not always going to get the right story, right? So this is a third party that says, yes, here is all the information that is available on this boat. And it justifies the price. If you're asking for a price and the customer comes in and says, well, this boat's more expensive than that boat, that so-and-so is selling over there. Well, let me tell you why this boat's more expensive. Here's the history of it. Here's the story from the seller, and here's a third party that justifies all of that, or that proves all of that's correct. Now, what do you know about that boat at that location?
Yeah, and there's another piece I call it, when I do my sales training, planting seeds of doubt against your competition, where you don't disparage, you don't talk bad about them, but you just you say things like, we offer this on all of our boats. I'm not sure why everybody doesn't do it. And you don't say, man, they're trying to rip you off, but just, hey, this is what we feel is the right way to run our business, and we want to take care of our boats so well that we have them for long term. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it. And now they're like, hey, you're right. I wonder why they don't do it, And and you just build that relationship, and with such a and I'm going to make an assumption here, such an inexpensive tool from
Yeah.
what I see what you're charging online.
I mean, it's mind-blowing to me that it's not, kind of like an automatic, like you said, planting the seeds of doubt. We have dealers and brokers that actually make sure that they, especially when they run a report on something that has a negative event, that's something that they show the customer. Hey, I've got a great quote for you here. It's not exactly what you're looking for, but it's going to be a great deal. Let me tell you why. It's because it does have this history associated with it. Here's a report. If you run the report yourself, you're going to get the same results. Here's the report. It shows a negative history. It's a great boat. It's been repaired better than new. But if you're not comfortable with it, I can show you boats with clean histories. And it's a way they can turn that around, and it's actually a benefit to have something negative because you're showing them that you're not hiding anything no matter what. And so, why aren't the other dealers and brokers showing you the histories on all their boats? Or why are they hesitant to give you the whole ID number so that you can research the history yourself? I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, and it's one of those, I do the same thing when I look at pre-owned inventory. Hey, if there's a tear in the upholstery, if there's a ding in the gel coat, if there's something wrong with the boat, just expose that right up front. And one, it's the right thing to do because they're going to see it. I mean, they're going to come look at the boat and they're going to say, oh, I see that there's a rip in the upholstery, or I see this defect or this issue. But when you come clean right away and you say, hey, let me show you, here's a picture of the scratch in the gel coat. Now, it can be repaired real easy. And you come out right up front and say that. Everything else that you say after that point is more believable. And you've just earned their trust with that one negative comment about the product you're trying to sell, and everything else you say is going to be more valuable. So I definitely I like that approach.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just making sure you're honest. And it's such a great way to build trust immediately. You've kind of mentioned in some of your other sessions, know you, like you, and trust you, and that trust isn't easy to come by because unfortunately the reputation isn't there. It's just in general. I mean, any used car, used boat, whoever it is, a salesman, unfortunately the reputation is not always the best. And trust is a little harder to come by. So anything you can do, like you said, pointing out the negative right from the beginning so that everything else after that, they believe you. They know you're looking out for their best interest.
Yeah. It just changes you kind of put a stop to what they assume is going to happen. They assume you're just going to, everything's all rosy and perfect. And it's a disruptor in their thought process. So what other ways are you seeing dealers and brokers using this tool?
What we kind of talk about is definitely on the trade-in side, and I apologize if I misunderstood your question, but definitely on the trade-in side to protect themselves is one of the biggest things because you're talking about building profits and quicker turnaround, and the last thing you want to do is have to buy a boat back because it turns out the boat had a negative event that the owner found out later, or like we said before, not be able to sell it for what you thought you were going to be able to sell it for because you didn't run it on that trade-in first. Or end up in a lawsuit. There's countless lawsuits, like we talked about, that are, a couple $1 million is what it results in because something wasn't disclosed. And then, protecting your customer, building that trust, building your credibility. I think those are the main ones. Kind of already talked about them, but
okay. Well, let me throw you this question. It'll be a little outside of the boat history report, which I think we've covered pretty good, but. What are you seeing? I know you attend boat shows and you've been around boats, and your boyfriend you mentioned has been into boating for a long time. It's a part of your lifestyle now. What are you seeing when you're out there shopping and attending boat shows that you'd be like, hey, here are my top 3 things that just I see from an outside perspective that I think dealers and people selling boats could do much better on, or should do more or less of.
Yeah, so, the first and foremost is accurate information, making sure you know that boat. I've talked about it from a boat history report perspective and just from a consumer's perspective, doing my own research. And I'm looking at a boat that I'm interested in and it's being advertised as something specific. And, I do my research, obviously, and realize that that's not the case at all. I will never go back to that dealer. I will never go back to that dealer or broker. If you can't get it right in your online listing, if you can't sell it to me truthfully and honestly without even interacting with me, then I'm not going to believe anything you have to say when I'm in your location. And, we deal with this with customers that email us and say, hey, you're telling me this, they're telling me this. Who do I believe? Well, we're a third party. We just don't know information. So if the third party information is telling you one thing, that's probably who you go with.
Yeah.
But so I would say accurate information, making sure that, you know, they're getting that information right from the very first time somebody lays eyes on the dealership or on the boat or, you know, on the ad, the listing, et cetera. And then part of that is photos. I can't get over it. I can't tell you how many times I see listings to these gorgeous boats, and I know they're gorgeous because I've seen them in person, and I find the listing online, and I can't even tell, you know, what the front of the back of the boat is in the picture sometimes. They're awful, or they're years old. They're showing brochure pictures, which is great, but the boat's 20 years old. It doesn't look like that brochure anymore. Like, you know, it's worth the money to make sure you get some good photos. And, you know, you kind of mentioned, you know, everyone's got a smartphone in their pocket. That smartphone can work some wonders. You just got to find a steady ground and try and take a good photo. I would say photos, you know, like we said, 70% of research is done online. So if my first impression of this dealer or broker is that they can't even take a good photo of what they're representing, then, you know, I know that they're not the expert on boats. And I would say from my own experience, response time. I personally have emailed, submitted leads, just trying to find information in my own boat shopping process, and I can't get a response from dealers or brokers. I mean, I can't get information back, and that's just mind-blowing to me. I am coming to you with, you know, cash in hand, ready to make a deal, and, you know, you don't set it up like that in the email because they assume it's spam, but, you know, as a dealer or broker that's receiving this, how are you not, at the very least, doing that initial response as quickly as possible, you know, to gauge the level of interest and see what's really there? I'll never understand why. I mean, I think at one point when I was in the research phase, you know, I emailed on 10 different boats, and I think I heard back from like 3 people.
No kidding.
That is, I just can't even.
It's interesting because I do a lot of mystery shopping when I bring a client on. And even sometimes when I'm talking to a client, I'll mystery shop their competition, but I'll also mystery shop the dealers that I may be working with, just to see what type of responses they're getting and how quickly. And I find the same thing, that my response rate has been better than 30%. But it's interesting who follows up quickly and who follows up for a period of time. And usually both of them I see a huge opportunity to improve. I think it's one of the areas in the industry that if we in the industry improve that the number of boats that we sold overall would skyrocket just if we did a better job on the front lines.
Yeah, you know, also, so we have customers that'll email us because they're in the process at the time, and then, you know, they don't find a boat. You know, the boat buying process is not a fast one. It's not, there's, one boat for every 33 cars sold. So there's just not the number of boats. There's not the number of locations that you can, you know, buy from, like a car dealership. You can hop a dealership every block, and a boat location is not the same way. So it's not a quick process. There are those people that email us in the fall and then email us again in the spring because they still haven't found a boat, you know, and I know that the brokers and dealers aren't following up with them. Like, I know they're starting the process over again, but I know for a fact how long this boat buying process is taking because we see it all the time. So it's amazing that I can't get a response, you know, in a couple of days, much less 6 months, when these people are still in the market looking for boats. And, you know, I'm in Florida, and so it's boating year-round. But for a lot of the country, you're winterizing boats, and the shopping process slows down because you can't actually see the boat. It's all wrapped up, or, you know, whatever. So that would be a huge, I mean, if I lived in the north somewhere, that would be the first thing I do when it starts to thaw is make a phone call to last year's leads and find out if they're still looking.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I've got, ice out has happened up north recently. I mean, it's been the latest on record for a while. But, yeah, that opportunity to, hey, you know, I've got a strategy where, hey, are you still thinking about buying a boat? I mean, it's that easy because there's a good chance that a big chunk of your old prospects are still considering it for a number of reasons. They didn't do it when they initially came through the pipeline.
Yeah,
Did you discover anything else as you were going through that shopping process? Anything else that jumped out at you other than the photos and the responsiveness?
Information was the biggest one for me. So either not having the information, I didn't know how many hours were on the motor. I didn't know when the last 10 components were replaced. I didn't know what was included. I didn't know if it was bond painted. I didn't know where it was kept or stored, or, you know, how often it was maintained, or, you know, that was a key component of it. And, you know, when you can't get a response, so one, it's not in the listing itself. Two, you can't infer from the photos. And three, I can't get a response back from that person.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to buy that boat? So.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, just the basic things to take the next step, which would be, you know, getting on the phone or going to take a look at it. You're not going to do either of those unless you have those answers, or most people won't, I should say.
Yeah, and I would say too, just from our customers' perspective, we have so many customers that are first-time boat buyers, and they have no idea. And they're going into these locations, and they're asking questions, and they're not getting the answers. They're kind of, I've heard from multiple customers that felt that they weren't taken seriously because they didn't know the information coming in ahead of time, which is a shame because everybody in this industry wants to build this industry, right? And we're always going to struggle, and there's always going to be issues where it slows down for a period of time, and we should be doing everything we can to make people feel comfortable. There's no stupid questions, and to come in and ask a question and have the dealer discredit you immediately and assume that you're not going to spend money on a boat because you don't even know that information. I mean, you've got to learn somewhere. So I would say treat every question, as if it's the very first time you've heard it and it's the best question you've ever heard, and make that customer feel like, hey, totally get it. This is an overwhelming process. There's so much more you have to think about with a boat that you don't have to think about with a car. And, here are some other questions, that we get a lot. Maybe these will help. Maybe you're curious about this stuff too. So I would say, definitely treating each customer's question as if it's important and not just, great.
I've never heard it put that way. I really like it as if it's the best question ever asked.
Yeah.
And if it's the first time you've heard it, because there really is the fear of making the buying decision, the fear of buying a boat that's going to be just riddled with problems, but also the fear of looking dumb. I mean, that's another fear. Even for experienced boaters, if you're moving from one style to another and you start using the wrong terminology, or you don't know what something is, and the salesperson is going on about more techno speak or industry jargon that we understand, but the consumer's like, I don't know what the hell they just said. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, all of that can put a quick stop to the sale for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Take them under your wing and make them feel, and like I said, just kind of offer the information even before you have to ask it. If you can gauge in the first 10 seconds what kind of boat buyer it's going to be, without making judgments because you really don't know, but kind of gauge, okay, based on this question, they're probably going to ask some other questions along those lines. Let me go ahead and offer that information so that they don't have to feel embarrassed by asking so many.
Yeah, included in your presentation. That's fantastic. Anything else that you've had either? Maybe it sounds like you guys do a decent amount of research and stats with the, 1 in 10 boats has a negative issue on it. 1 in 7 boats that you see on Craigslist. And this could be valuable information as a salesperson to, hey, just want to let you know, we offer this on all of our boats, but research shows that 1 in 7 boats on Craigslist has a negative incident on this. So, you want to be careful, and you want to make sure you buy it from somebody you trust. But any other research or numbers that you guys have come across over the years that are interesting?
I feel like I could spit numbers for days. 1 in 10, I think the last statistic that came out was 1 in 10 households has a boat, which is a staggering number. It's higher in some locations. I think in the Great Lakes area, it's 1 in 6, which is a significant number of opportunities out there from a sales and marketing perspective, knowing, where the higher concentration per capita is, and knowing where there's some opportunities to increase that as well. So that was interesting to me. That was a lot higher than I expected it to be when I had heard that. And then another thing that's really fascinating to me that, a lot of people aren't aware of is, 60% of theft remain missing a year later. And if you buy a boat, and if you buy a boat that's stolen, it doesn't matter how much money you spent on it, you're not entitled to keep it, and you will not be reimbursed for it. So if you buy a boat that's been stolen and hadn't been recovered yet, and you go to register it, and it tips off somebody that boat is still a stolen boat, and it gets recovered, you lose. No
Really?
about it.
I was not aware of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and so they say, also get along here all day long. Well, the boat has a clean title. It must be a good boat. Well, there's still 13 states that don't title boats at all. Don't give you titles at all for boats. And of the states that do title boats, there are 3 states that will issue a negative title on a boat, and Florida is not one of them. So we hear all day long, Florida's the #1 boating state. Well, this boat has a clean title. Well, this boat is a total lost boat, and an insurance company owned it previously. But it has a clean title. It has to be good, right? No.
Right.
Florida doesn't issue negative titles. All boats have clean titles in Florida. It doesn't matter. The boat could literally be disintegrated into a pile of burnt fiberglass, and it'll have a clean title. So, so from a marketing perspective, you saying that it has a clean title is great because it tells the customer it has a clean title, but it's really false advertising necessarily if the boat had a negative event just because it has a clean title. And that gets back into that, even a minor misrepresentation on a boat by saying it has a clean title and eluding a customer to believe that it's got a clean history because of it will leave you as guilty in a court of law if it comes down to it.
Right.
So, kind of knowing stuff like that too, making sure that you're not using terminology or things like that in your advertising that could potentially hurt you down the road would be a significant thing to be aware of, I think.
Yeah. I remember when I first got started selling, I would say things like, oh, this has this non-skid surface, or I don't remember what it was I said, but I was quickly told, no, we don't say that. It's a raised pattern area because it's not like if they fall and get hurt, we're going to be liable. You can't use language like that. Words matter. Words matter for making the sale move forward, but also from a risk side of the equation. So, any other Caroline? This has been great. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Anything that I didn't ask you, or any areas that we should have talked about that we didn't?
I would say, we haven't really touched on the hurricanes, and this goes back to the type of damage that's out there. But just in this last year between Harvey and Irma, there were 63,000 insurance claims for damaged boats. Now, both Florida and Texas do not require insurance to own a boat. So the number of actual damaged vessels is significantly higher. And, people outside of it, had a conversation with a dealer the other day about it. They said, well, I'm not in Florida, so that doesn't pertain to me. Well, it absolutely does, because these boats are leaving those states to avoid the stigma of hurricane damaged boats. So, you've got customers that are coming in, from a sales perspective, you've got customers that are coming in that are unsure of buying these boats right now because they're afraid they're hurricane damaged boats. The one thing that you can do to assure them right off the front is saying, hey, here's something, there are hurricanes out there right now, there were hurricanes, there's a lot of damaged boats on the market. I want to show you, we've got this boat as a clean history because, and it's not just because you're not in Florida or Texas, you don't have to worry about it. You do. Everybody has to worry about it. The entire country has to at least be aware of it. And, it's not just hurricanes, it's the winter storms that are coming through. It's, tornadoes, it's who knows what natural disaster is coming through and causing these issues, so.
Yeah, that's I forgot about that there is going to be, and there probably already are hitting the market, a glut of used inventory probably all over Craigslist and people trying to trade them with that without being caught about what's really going on, for sure.
Yeah, they're trying to get back on the market pretty quickly. And, same with stolen boats. If the boat's stolen, they're going to try and turn around and sell it immediately before you can locate it. So those are the kinds of things, that you just want to be aware of. And, familiarize yourself with the statistics so that you're the most informed person. Someone said to me once, and I just thought it was so great, when you walk into a job or you walk into a situation, you're the general, and everybody looks at you as you are the expert in this, and each time someone asks you a question that you can't answer, you're giving a star away. You're giving away some of your power and some of your authority. So you want to make sure that you never have to give any of that away by being the absolute expert on everything there is to know.
Yep. That's great. Well, I do want to give you an opportunity, and I'm curious about what the pricing looks like for the dealers. I know online you can buy a package of 5 for like $50 or $60 or something like that. And the individual is $39.99 for a consumer. What's it look like on the industry side?
So on the industry side, it starts at $99 a month and goes from there. It's a tier-based pricing. So it just depends on the volume of boats that you have. The more boats you have, the less per boat the report is.
Okay.
And then one more thing, if you don't mind, the number one question we get asked, so I'd like to just put this out there, is where do we get our information from?
Yeah, that's great.
So if it's all right with you, just kind of give that out there. But we do work with law enforcement. Law enforcement actually has free access to our reports, and they use our reports in investigating accidents and stolen boats. But we get information from law enforcement, from the Coast Guard, state registration and titling data, insurance companies. We work with marine surveyors. We are absolutely not a replacement for a marine surveyor. We are a starting point. So we are, before you even get your eyes on the vessel, we are something you can do to get the history. And we have marine surveyors that use us as a precursor to actually doing the survey so that they know right off the bat if there's something specific they need to look for. And then we work with marine surveyors to get summaries of surveys that are done that are included in our reports. I totally throw myself off by doing that.
That's right. I'll ask you. I'll catch you up. That's interesting. I didn't realize the survey relationship. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and that's certainly valuable information to include. That's great. So what about the relationship with the dealers? How does that work? And what can they do to get more information? If they're like, okay, I wasn't sure about this boat history report. I've heard of it, but I didn't think much about it. What can they do to get more information and to maybe have a conversation with you?
So my information, my name's obviously Caroline. My phone number is 941-266-7391. You can call anytime, but just understand that I may not answer if it's super late. And my email address is caroline@boathistory.com. So just CAROLINE@boathistory.com. Our website is Boat History Report. We certainly invite you to sign up for a broker account or a dealer account and see all the ways that it can benefit your business. If you go to our website, like you mentioned, it is a $40 value to the consumer. For an individual report, for a dealer, it's for $15 a report and actually gets less based on volume. So just some of the ways I guess you can find out some of the information. We have a blog. We've got all social media. Yeah.
And I think
those are the best ways.
With that investment, I mean, you're looking at $10 a report. I mean, the value and the margin you can get and the risk you can avoid with that investment, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. So I would really encourage you to reach out, find out a little bit more detail, see if it matches with your dealership, and just the competitive advantage not only on the premium inventory, but the value it places in the consumer's mind and the trust you earn in the consumer's mind is to me easily worth the investment. So give them a call, Caroline. I appreciate you joining us and being part of this podcast. The construction noise was pretty minor, so we lucked out there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. I had a good time talking to you, and thanks for all you're doing for the industry as well, and kind of helping bring us to this century as far as sales and marketing.